Hello everybody, good morning. Welcome back along to another week. Loads of football stories unfolding, in the process of unfolding, and being reported over the weekend. So I'll try and get straight in. Loads to talk about, all the way down Premier League, Championship, League 1 and 2 to update. What happened in Germany, some free-to-air TV chat and some possible live games being discussed. As well, we've got Nick Hancock versus Luke Chadwick on the TV this morning, and some interesting things on the terraces over in Seoul. Let's start with the Premier League. So we're expecting some developments today, more meetings about meetings. The Telegraph reported over the weekend that Project Restart will likely get the go-ahead today. Training will start tomorrow, which gives you a 5-week pre-season and a June the 19th start. We expected the June the 12th date to go back. There we go, bumped back a week already. Maybe we will just end up starting in July, but we'll see what happens in the meantime. This should hopefully help with the concerns of Raheem Sterling, who came out and said 3 weeks, not enough, we need 4 to 5 weeks. Well, okay, it's going to be less than 5 weeks because we'll start on a Tuesday and likely go ahead with a big Friday night TV match, I'm sure, as a relaunch. But still, hopefully a move in the right direction there. Then we're expecting another vote, depending on what happens today, possibly on Friday, with reference to neutral venues, although that seems pretty cut and dried. All the clubs seem to be against neutral venues and wanting to play games in their own stadiums. Then we get the hard one, which is the curtailment plan. So if the worst does happen and they restart and they can't finish, what happens with curtailment? Obviously, it's important that clubs going back in have all agreed to the plan. We wouldn't be in this situation now if there'd been a plan, but obviously hindsight is a wonderful thing, and predicting worldwide pandemics out of nowhere is obviously rather difficult to do. But then we're into turkeys voting for Christmas and self-interest all over again. So I like the idea of, look, get them back training, get the start date sorted, let the suits argue amongst themselves about the minutiae with the curtailment, because remember, the curtailment plan is only needed if we don't finish. But yeah, that's going to be the hard one with all of the different interests of the different clubs. And I think we can kind of conclude now that that is the issue with a curtailment plan, the fact that you just can't get everyone to agree. So let me know your thoughts on where we are with the Premier League. Feels inching closer, doesn't it? I think the Bundesliga helps. We'll talk about Germany in a little bit, but I just would like to see a plan. Plans are good. You don't have to stick to them, word for word and every step, but just some solid plan to begin with that you can react off, and then everyone knows where they stand. That would suit me, but let me know what you think down in the comments. Free-to-air TV has come up. This will be an interesting one in the comments. Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden told BBC Breakfast this morning that some matches, if the Premier League returns, could be broadcast live on free-to-air. We would look to give that the green light if we can, because it would be a good thing to do if we can. What a great speaker he sounds. I'm also looking at increasing the number of matches that could be free-to-air, so people wouldn't be tempted to leave their homes to watch it, which is clearly an important consideration. There is a rule at the moment that at 3 p.m. you can't show matches on TV because people were watching in the football stadiums. Clearly, that's not going to be the case anymore. So some of those slots may be available for free-to-air. So we're looking to see if we could do that as part of the wider broadcasting package. This is going to be great fun in the comments, isn't it? I'm sure we're going to get a wide range of views on this. I'd love it to be as simple as, hey, we're the government and we're going to give the public something that they can't normally have, and that's a good thing. But I'm afraid we have vast TV contracts and Sky and BBC playing for exclusive rights. And yes, the government has jurisdiction over Sky and BT, but I'm sure those contracts are very long and very wordy and say lots of stuff about exclusivity and things of that nature. So certainly not going to be hugely simple. And as always in these things, if it results in the Premier League or the clubs having less money at the end of it, then they will not vote for it, because that's how these things tend to work. As much as it would be great to stick a game on a channel. And then you have the whole BBC issue, because I keep saying on these videos I don't want to get political, but this is the nature of what we're talking about, sadly. Free to air is an abhorrent lie, because we don't have free to air TV in this country. It does not exist because of the BBC and the licence fee. If I want to watch a football match on BT Sport, on top of me paying my BT Sport subscription, if I want to watch that match live in real time, I have to give the BBC 12 quid a month, even if I do not consume any of their products. So if we're in a democracy, are you going to give the BBC one match and ITV one match? And, you know, with the government giving the BBC their own organisation, all the matches be monopolised in that? It then gets very political very, very quickly. I have my own opinions on the TV licence and the behaviour of the BBC from experience, actually, of moving from one place to another, but keeping the one place and renting in the other where the licence was covered. So obviously I said, look, I don't need a licence, I want to save a little bit of money, and really encountered some very kind of nasty, scary bully boy, we're going to investigate you, we're going to do this, that and the other, you're breaking the law, we're going to fine you, which would probably terrify less bullshit people than me. So look, my experience of the BBC trying to, you know, chase me over, you know, a property where I was rightly not paying for a licence because I didn't know whether I'd be there or not, is not a very good experience. So maybe I'm a little bit biased about this. It does seem a bit of a political move by Mr. Dowden, the culture secretary. It's basically saying the government gave us free Premier League football, isn't it? There is some sense in this argument. Yes, it probably will lessen the likelihood of people going and congregating outside the grounds. I've just found that argument massively irritating and patronising to football fans, because if we're in a situation where it's A, immoral, and B, illegal to go in a large congregation, then you're just basically saying football fans are stupid, that they're not going to be able to follow that instruction, and they're all going to gather and put themselves and others at risk. And I've just found that a little bit annoying. Hey, I could be right, I could be wrong, but I feel like I can follow instructions, and I feel a bit patronised by the suggestion that I'm going to be incapable if, I don't know, my team goes and plays, I'm going to have to go and stand outside the ground. It seems a bit silly to me, but there you go. Look, go for it in the comments. Let's not get too crazy on the licence fee. I apologise if I've just stoked that up a little bit, but it did grind my gears the way I was treated when I rightfully cancelled one the other end. But realistically, can you wade through free to air? I'm not even going to say free to air. Can you wade through games that are available on the BBC without the BBC having paid for the rights? Are Sky and BT going to have that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is me getting down off my soapbox on that. Getting down to the Championship, no real change yet. The situation is they want to play. They're going to be just following whatever the Premier League does on this one. So hopefully we get a nailed down training date for the Premier League, which then opens the door for the Championship, and they can work off a similar plan to the Premier League. Fingers crossed. Wouldn't it be nice if it was that simple? I'm sure it's not going to be. Speaking of not going to be simple, League One is a mess, but it looks like the unholy alliance involving my team, Ipswich, in fact, Peterborough, Oxford, Ipswich, Fleetwood, Sunderland, Pompey, if I'm reeling off, sorry if I've missed one out there. That alliance wanted the season to be finished. The argument was that it would cost them more money in refunds of contracts and season ticket refunds and sponsorship and things of that nature would cost more than the behind closed doors or cancellation angle. We are talking about behind closed doors. Forgive me, I misspoke. However, and it looks as close as 12 to 11 in the voting of the 23 clubs. Remember, no Bury involved there. Looks like the lower half are going to be able to get it through without everyone having to play, and basically going to say to the top half or the top 8 or whatever it's going to be, look, you go ahead, play your little playoffs, away you go, we're going to close, and hopefully that suits both parties. Therefore, we likely get Rotherham and Coventry getting promoted. An extended playoff has been talking about. I guess Wycombe is the issue here because they are in 8th place, but there is a mathematical scenario that winning their game in hand would have jumped them to joint 2nd. So it would seem to be rather unfair on Wycombe not to have them in the playoffs. We'll see. Get your thoughts in on that. God, is this a solution that rewards Rotherham and Coventry for their good play, allows the teams worried about losing a ton of money and who are around the playoffs to do that on, quote, sporting integrity, and allows the teams down the bottom who are worried maybe more about the behind closed doors completely sapping their finance? Is it a solution that keeps all of them happy? Wouldn't that be lovely if it was? We'll see if it gets voted through. League 2, more cut and dried. Clubs voted to finish. Not sure about the playoffs, like League 1 one. I don't know whether they'll be happening. They did want relegation to the National League suspended, which I found a little bit murky, but more on that this week, no doubt. But we are further ahead with League 2 than any other league, so we won't criticise them too much. So let's move on to the German example now. So we've nearly completed the first weekend. There's more matches tonight. I enjoyed it. It was great to sit down and watch some live football. It was great to see the players out there playing. It was great to see the can-do example of the Bundesliga and the clubs getting out there, getting on with it and doing their best under terrible circumstances. From the comments in my YouTube channel, there were 2 criticisms that kind of came in. The first one that came up several times was this: football is nothing without fans. This is rubbish. I'm turning it off. I'm not watching. It's rubbish without fans. Now, sadly, it's an opinion that football is nothing without fans and not a fact. And of course, I invite people's opinions, and everyone is entitled to that opinion. And it may be true. It may be true that football is nothing without fans, but it's just not an argument that holds any water at the moment. Oh, if there's no fans, we can't do it. Sadly, there's just too much money, too many contracts, all live and in progress at the moment, and this idea of fans don't like it that they're not there. I'm afraid we just can't wait until fans are going to be back. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, who knows? And football will die if you just leave it. With any business, in fact, if you just leave it now and don't try and make any attempts to restart, everyone who works in it is going to go bust. All the businesses will go bust. People will then go and find new jobs, and those industries will die. So sadly, I have sympathy with the view, yeah, it's rubbish without fans. Wouldn't it be better if fans were there? Of course it would, but it's just a non-starter in actual reality. It has to get going, and yes, I can't wait to be back safely in a football stadium watching a match, but I think if you spin it on its head, I say well done to the players. I have respect for what they've done. It's the best we can get at the moment, and maybe it shouldn't be football is nothing without fans. Maybe it should be football is nothing without football. So as much as us fans are important and we like to think we make football great, and we probably do, but it is the players getting out there and doing it to give us something to watch that does actually come ahead of us being there, sadly. So in the meantime, I have sympathy for that opinion. Football is nothing without fans, etc. But this is the way it has to be for the time being. The other comment I was getting was this: what if one player catches it? Does the whole thing collapse like a big deck of cards then? Hopefully not. I don't know the actual science, but I would assume that the testing and contact tracing, is pretty conclusive. And this idea of one person catching the virus and then after all the work they've done, then being allowed to walk into training untested and then infect everybody else. I know there's the asymptomatic angle, would seem pretty far-fetched, but I don't know the science. So hopefully the way I'm feeling about it is right, and that, you know, there's no chance of somebody who's got it being allowed to walk in untested and give it to everyone else, and a massive club outbreak and a big quarantine happening. But hey, this virus works in mysterious ways. Get your thoughts in on those two opinions. Two more quick ones. FC Seoul have made worldwide news here for quote sex dolls being put on their terraces during their match in the K-League. Before the match, a company called Dalcom offered to fill some of the empty seats, and the club agreed. There were 30 mannequins, 28 of them female and 2 of them male. That was the first mistake, not checking that, wasn't it? Now, I know the demographics of football are changing, but we don't have an audience of 99% female and 1% male. So that could have been a clue with the type of dolls that they were getting if they were mostly female. Fans noticed online that some of the mannequins looked more like sex dolls, and some were advertising X-rated websites, by God, leading to the club apologising. Cho Yong-jun told the BBC they were supposed to take all the logos down before the game started, but there were several logos that got caught. Would you be happy to have sex dolls in the background when your club comes back? I'll have anything in the background just to get the football back, I think, but an interesting, fun one. Last one we're going to do is Luke Chadwick versus Nick Hancock. So if you're not aware, Luke Chadwick was, after the class of 92, a player coming through, a young player coming through at Manchester United, who was sadly mocked for his appearance. I remember him having a brace and acne and unfortunate things like that. And he's come out today to talk about the bullying he received in football. Very kind of jock atmosphere and very banter, crossing the line type atmosphere in football. And lots of people argue, oh, if you can't take it, and all of those type of old-fashioned arguments that we get. Apparently, Luke Chadwick was ceaselessly mocked on BBC programmes. So this goes back to our licence fee, doesn't it? They think it's all over by presenter Nick Hancock, who responded saying it's incredibly humbling. He's shown so much more generosity and understanding and good judgment than we did at the time. I'm appalled for him and myself. The terrible thing about comedians and comedy shows is that if you're getting laughs, you think you're doing a good job. Of course, that's the worst thing for Luke, that it became a running joke. To us, it was a photograph. Nobody should expect Luke to have called us on it, but it would have been effective if, say, the PFA or his club had said something. I'm desperate to be in touch with him. I would be happy to meet him. Hopefully we can put it to bed. Yeah, difficult one this, isn't it? Because I'm against people going back 20 years, and we've had this with comedians and jokes that they've made that weren't necessarily seemingly as bad at the time, then being trawled up and then being judged on it now. I guess this is a bit of a different matter because it is poking fun at someone's appearance, and honest to God, I get comments all of the time on my appearance when we're just here to talk about football, because not many people who talk about football decide to wear their hair long. God, imagine that. It's not good. I think everyone seems to have come out of it well, and apologies have been made, which is fab, isn't it? So get your thoughts in on Luke Chadwick and Nick Hancock there as our last story. Right, I need to go and give the iPad back. So lots to talk about today, lots to get your teeth into. Comments in as always. Really interesting getting debate going, but I'll give my usual caveat. It's fine to disagree with someone, but given the Luke Chadwick example, there we go. Let's avoid personal insults. They don't really do anybody any good. And let's get a nice debate and discourse going. Let's try not to be angry internet users, as we do sometimes get in the comments, and have a good old discussion, good old debate. Right, thank you for watching. Follow on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. Hit subscribe, ring the bell. I'll see you on the next video, whenever that will be. I don't know. Maybe more news from the Premier League. That is a don't. I'll see you later on. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.